Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Widji Show. So today we're going to be making some pom-poms. So you can either make pom-poms with little strings on the end or pom-poms without it, big ones, small ones, anything. So we're just going to make it out of yarn. So all you need is some yarn, some scissors, and some kind of container to hold your scraps in. So first things first, you need a lot of yarn just pulled out, just out of the little container. Or whatever you call this little a roll of yarn. So you get a lot of yarn out of the roll of yarn, and then you take your 4 fingers. I'm going to make a big one, not a small one. If you want a smaller one, do these steps just with 2 fingers instead. So take 4 fingers and leave a little stem out and hold it like that. Okay? Now I'm going to push the stem to the side kind of so it doesn't get caught up. And now we wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap forever. So we just gotta go like this for a while until it's good enough, because every time we wrap, it's another string added in the pom-pom like that. So if you look there, you can see those are yarn strings sticking out. So if we don't wrap it enough, when we make the tie, it will just all of the strings will fall out and all your beautiful work will be done. So you see why we need a lot of string? Because this still isn't enough and we use the entire circle. So I need to get more string. So I just hold it down and pull it. And then we wrap again. And the hard part after this, we're going to have to tie it off. And you got to pull really tight so that it doesn't fall apart. Still need more. Just lots and lots of yarn. Okay, so I think this is good enough. So I'm just going to wrap it around so that pom-pom on loose. We'll edit that out. So what I'm going to do now is, so I think this is good enough. So you can see how thick that is around. So now what I do is I take this string and I'm just going to end it on the same end that my tail is. So you see how that's a little tail in the beginning? Way long ago. We're going to end it around the same part, and this is where our scissors come in. We're just going to snip it at the same spot. So that is about there. So now, still attached to our fingers, you might need some help from a friend on this, or a parent. And so what you're going to do is you're going to cross them, and then you're going to take this string and go under, and then I'm just going to go like this, and pull. And then you do it one more time to create a little knot. Under. And pull. So you can also use your thumb and your finger just to tighten it up a good amount. And snip off the extra. So now you take these little extra pieces and put them in your bowl. So now we're done with this. Just kidding. Not. You're going to take a good amount of string, about this much. So if you want a stem, make it a little bit longer. So the longer you make this string, the longer your stem will be on your pom-pom. So I'm going to snip it about here. So a good amount of string, I would say, is from here to here, but I'm making mine with a stem, so I added a little bit. So now what you do is you are going to take your pom-pom or your yarn wrap, and you're going to put the string between those 2 fingers. So between your middle 2 fingers, so you split in half. And so you pull it through a little bit, so it's like that. Now you're going to take this piece, and this is the harder part. You see 1, 2, 3 right there? You're going to push it right through the middle one, and you just got to push it through until it shows up on the other end, like that. So there it is, so I got to reach in there and pull it through. So now when I pull the 2 sides of the string, gotta make sure my pinky doesn't get lost. I pull the 2 sides so it's wrapping right there and it's coming through right there. So I'm gonna make it even. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie the same knot that we tied to get rid of the extra on the beginning. So under, over, pull. And so now that I have that part, I'm going to slip it off my fingers, just so it's nice and tight. And now pull really, really tight, because if this isn't tight, then all the little pieces of string are just going to fall right out of your pom-poms. So make it nice and super tight. And so now that it's tight, we're going to tie a little knot at the top. So while I was tying this little piece of knot, it's getting looser down there. So I have the tie right there, but I'm just going to tighten it and go as quick as I can to pull it. And tight, nice and tight. And then just for good luck, I'm going to add one more. So just in case. Nice and tight. So here is where you get to make a decision. If you want a stem, leave it. If you do not want a stem, just snip it right there. So I personally want a stem. So I'm just going to snip it a little bit so that it looks even and nice. So you see how the two strings end a little unevenly? Just going to snip it so they're both even. And put the extra in the cup. And so now I have even strings holding like a little disc. So this is the harder part. What we're going to do is we're going to split it in two groups. So you see the line right down the middle? We're going to split it open right along the line. So you can see that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take the first group and we're going to, with the string, we're going to grab it along the line. So it sticks out and I'm holding that with the strings down there. It's windy. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take our scissors. I'm just going to put that there. Hope it stays. We're going to take the scissors and go through and just snip it all right down. Because now, instead of having loops, you're releasing it kind of, and now your strings will just go loose. Like that. So just double check everywhere just to make sure that you got all the loops out and it's just strings. So now we're going to flip it and do the same thing. Just take the string that you're holding there and bring them down if you're making a tie. If you're not making a tie, you won't have strings, so you won't have to worry about that. So we're going to do the same thing we just did on this one. Just snip it. It's a little bit hard to snip, so just be patient with it and it will come right out. Just double checking everything to make sure I got all the loops. Okay, so now, as you can see, my two ends are a little bit uneven. Like that's a little shorter than this one. So what I'm going to do is this is where you definitely need your cup. You're going to take the cup and over it, I'm just going to even out all of those stems. Just like that. So it all are the same length. It's a little tick. I'm just gonna, see, wind's blowing it everywhere. But once we finish, they're all around the same length-ish. Ish is good enough. So once it's around the same length, then you're going to take your strings again and join it with that and do the same thing to the other side because these are still crazy. So I'm just going to neaten it up. A good way is to make it face you like that and then snip it like that, because then it's a little bit more controlled and a little bit easier to do. So I'm just going to do that and make it nice and even. And so they're still uneven, as you can tell. You can see that's a little bit longer than this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this one a little bit. So it's still perfectly flat. I just need it a little bit shorter so that it's the same length as this. So we're just going to go through and trim it up. But make sure you don't forget, it needs to be flat. So we're just going through, making it flat and smaller. So I'm just going to double check that this side's just as flat, because now they're about the same length, as you can tell. So we're just going to flatten up everything in here. Nice and flat. Do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay, so you see why we need the cup to collect all the grossness. So, now that we got that, we're going to take the pom-pom and smush it together. So you just want to smush it all in so that it's all just going. I like to do this because it mushes the two sides. Because you don't want it to be in two parts, you want a single pom-pom, right? Right. So I made mine a little looser. If you want it tighter, snip it more in the beginning when you're snipping it before this phase. So see how mine's like really loosey-goosey and just like kind of everywhere? Well, if you want it to look a little bit more like this and a little bit squishier, kind of like that, less loose, then what you are going to do is you're going to go in the beginning when you have it in two pieces and snip it more near the middle. Closer to the middle you get, the shorter the strings, the poofier the pom-pom. The further you get, the looser. So now that you have your pom-pom, you can tie it to anything you want. You can make it a keychain, you could make it anything really, but me, I'm gonna make it into a cat toy. So, I will be right back with my supplies. You just finished making your pom-pom. So, if you like what you made, cool. If you don't want to do anything with it, cool. If you want to make it into a cat toy, cool. So, I'm going to be teaching you how to make it into a cat toy. So what you need is your pom-pom, some scissors, some kite string or any string. It could be ribbon or whatever. And then any piece of wood. You could get a stick out of your backyard. You could get a ruler with your parents' permission. And I have a paint stick because it's just a good one. So this is your supplies. So first things first is we're going to unravel some string. The longer your string, the longer your cat toy is. I like to have long cat toys because my cats like to chase them. So this is a good long string. So I'm going to snip it I'm going to give it a little extra because I'm going to have to tie the knots. And I'm going to snip it about there. So, run away. So that's about, I would say, I'm going to guess it's like 2 arms lengths-ish. Almost 2 arms lengths. So that's what I have. And I'm going to take it, and on my painting stick, there's 2 notches already there. But around, like, if you put your thumb down, around 2 of your thumbs is a great spot to put it. And you're just going to wrap your string around kind of like that. And the same way we tied the pom-pom, we're going to tie this string. We're just going to go, if we go like that, cross it, and then go under and tighten. And then the other way, cross it, under, tighten. So now it's nice and tight. And I like to just do this just for safety. I'm going to wrap it again just so that it stays on nice and tight. Under, tighten, over, under, tighten. And that way it just stays on nice and tight. There we go. So now you have your string tied on. So when you play with it, it's just ribbon dancing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the pom-pom end of things. we're gonna take the two. So I like to do it stringed because it makes it a little bit easier to make it into a cat toy. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take both strings as if they were one and cross them. And then bring the kite string or whatever your ribbon is under. And then, so it's like a crisscross. And then we're gonna bring it over under again. So it kind of looks like that. Then we pull it tight. It's just nice and tight little knot. Now you have your pom-pom connected. So I'm just gonna tie it like a little double knot just to make sure it's nice and on there and it won't go anywhere or my cats attack it, because you know how cats can be. There we go. Nice and tight. So I'm gonna snip off the extra. And put them in the cup. So now it's nice and tight and on there. So if I stand up with it, so this is a little long for right here, but I'm just gonna wrap it a little so you can see. Just going around so it shortens the string because I made a really long one. We shorten it a little. Now if I bounce it, it's a pretty cool cat toy. So that's all you do. So see you next time on The Widji Show.